Good morning, y'all. We are back with another edition of DNVR Rams Live. As always, I am your host, Justin Michael. We are remote this morning, been feeling just a little under the weather. Nothing crazy or anything like that, but figured it better be safe than sorry, not trying to expose the rest of the office or anything like that. We're setting the scene for a really important conference opener against San Jose State this weekend. I'm going to give out some keys. I'm going to talk about kind of how their offense really revolves around the QB wide receiver combo of Emmett Brown and Nick Nash. We'll do power rankings. If we have time, we'll do picks at the very end. That might get saved for tomorrow, depending on how long some of this stuff here at the beginning kind of takes me. Just kind of jumping right into it. Obviously, we went fairly negative the past couple of shows in terms of the commentary, the criticism. And I think a lot of that was valid because it was pretty frustrating to see a very winnable game slip through the fingers there, largely due to self-inflicted wounds. And it's been a problem that's been too persistent these last couple of years. The inability to get a stop late defensively after taking, the lead. This 4 times now that's happened over the last 2 seasons. That's definitely frustrating. And as valid as all of that is, you're the only team in the league that has not yet played a conference game. You're going into the league slate undefeated. Technically, you don't have a win yet either, but you're undefeated as of now against Mountain West competition. Still have an opportunity to win 7 or more games. I will get into all of that. I'm also going to have a roundtable piece coming out with commentary from me and Dre, which will be for DNVR members only. That's going to kind of talk about what we like about this team so far, where they need to improve, some of the key matchups coming up, how we ultimately feel the season will finish at this point in time, who will win the league, all that. If you're not a DNVR member, now is a great time to become one. We have exclusive content for you each and every week, not just CSU, but Nuggets, Broncos, Avalanche, you name it, but CSU as well. I'll also have some other written pieces coming out here today and tomorrow. This is a big one. If you lose this game, it really just puts so much pressure going into Colorado Springs, which has certainly been a house of horrors for CSU over the years. They have not won against Air Force in the spring since 2002. Even good teams have gone down there and fallen. I lost a couple of heartbreakers over the years, like 2014 in particular comes to mind. They lost a tough one in 2016 on a really cool night, a shootout. A lot of the games have been competitive. They've not found a way to pull it out. And obviously, if you lose this game against San Jose State, going into that matchup in a place where you have not won in 2 decades, you could be sitting at 2-5, which obviously is not anywhere near where you would have expected coming into this season. It'd be a really dangerous spot moving forward. You'd basically have to run the table at that point, and that would be tricky with some deceptively tough road games still to come. But at the same time, I just want to reiterate that there is a world in which CSU beats San Jose State this weekend. They're 1-point dogs at the moment, the last that I checked, so it's kind of viewed as a coin flip. But I'm not surprised that San Jose State is narrowly favored. I've seen them as favored by as much as 2 or 3. But either way, it's supposed to be a good game based on how Vegas views this one going in. If you can win this one, if you can go into the Springs and pull out a road win, then all of a sudden you're 1 game above 500. You're undefeated in conference play. And you're sitting here looking at the schedule thinking, well, I mean, we got a shot. I mean, starting with Air Force, you have got 5 of your 7 remaining games against teams that are 2-4 or worse. 4 of those teams are sitting at 1-4, including Wyoming, including Air Force, including Utah State, all teams that you've really struggled with within the conference over the last half decade. There is a path to this team very realistically winning 7+ games. And I don't think there's a non-zero chance, that they run the table. Do I expect that? No. But when you look at the way that this schedule plays out, very clearly you are going to have the talent advantage in a lot of these matchups. And as Nick says here in the Toyota chat, a 2 overtime loss at Oregon State felt more promising than a 10-point win against UTEP. I think in terms of relative competition, that's probably true. Obviously, you always want to win moral victories kind of feel hollow at this stage of the program. You're in year 3. It was such a big opportunity to get a signature win, and I've talked about that a lot. Like, I just felt like a win on the road against Oregon State would have done so much. It would have gotten you so much goodwill with the fans, and instead, I think you have a lot of people sitting here, if not on the edge, may have even gone over the edge, and at this point are kind of out on the state of the program. The thing is if you win a couple of games here, it really wipes the slate clean. And I'm very interested to see how this team responds, because you are in a tough spot. Again, I think it's just as realistic to win these next 2 and be sitting a game above 500, or to drop them both. And now you're sitting at 2-5, potentially with some really tough questions to ask. I mean, the early signing period has been moved up a couple of weeks to early December. Everything about the college football calendar and the changes that have happened in recent years are going to lead to coaching changes coming more quickly than they used to, in terms of like in-season moves and that type of stuff. I'm not trying to get dramatic, because I think you very likely could win this game this weekend. I think you should beat an Air Force team that looks absolutely awful. I know the history is bad, so I think there's a really good chance that over this next month, you can get this thing going in the right direction, that you can establish some positive momentum. There's a lot that needs to happen for that, and we're going to get into all of it. But I just want to reiterate that the season is not over. It's going to be a situation where, if you look at it glass half empty, glass half full, I understand the people that are fully pessimistic. I was feeling pretty pessimistic myself over the weekend, just given how frustrating that matchup played out. Having some time to go away from it, having time to rewatch that game and seeing the things you did well, like, you can see the path forward with this team. And honestly, what I am rooting for, just being completely transparent, is for them to figure it out under Jay Norvell. I don't think starting over is what is best for this program. I do think he's an old school football coach that's seen a lot of change in recent years. Probably some things he's struggled to adapt with, but I think he is an elite recruiter. I think he is a great talent evaluator. I think he's genuinely a good person, conducts himself the right way on and off the field, does a ton of community work, engages with the alumni, is highly charitable, all things you would want in the man representing your program. I do think that the program still displays some losing tendencies, and that's disappointing to me. And I do wonder if you see some tweaks to the system, going into next year. Do you see him wrap his head around, maybe hiring an offensive coordinator to call plays, or elevating Matt Mumme, one of those two situations? Just from a game management standpoint, I do wonder if having your head coach not be the guy that calls the plays, and this isn't because I think he's a bad play caller. I just inherently believe that head coaches are better suited having offensive and defensive play callers, because there's a lot to manage and there's a lot going on. And I especially with like some of the penalties and some of the tougher decisions, 4th and 2, that type of stuff at midfield, if you're not also trying to, balance what the play calls are, I just think it allows you to kind of think through some of these situations, slow it down, have a little bit more input defensively when things are going wrong there. I think that's the thing that he considered, but I just wanted to add some of this, because as realistic as it is for things to spiral and for, this team to potentially be 2-5, it's just as realistic, if not more likely, that this team is going to rattle off a couple of wins here and, frankly, pick off some lower competition, which is what they should do. You should beat up on these bad teams, but we have not seen CSU do it consistently, so we'll see. But I really do think there's a path forward here. And what's nice is, as frustrating as last weekend was, you have a clean slate going into league play. You don't play Boise State. You don't play UNLV. That trip to Fresno is tough. The trip to Reno is tough. But avoiding those top 2 teams is significant, because there's a pretty big gap between those two and the rest of the conference at the moment. We'll get into that when we do power rankings. Before I get into some keys against San Jose State specifically, I did want to play an interview with Paddy Turner here. He is a team captain for the Rams. I know, punting, not the sexiest position. We do have a unique admiration for the position, given the history. There have just been so many studs to come through the programs over the year. I mean, going all the way back to like Jimmy Kaler. Obviously, you've got, Stonehouse is the gold standard, but Hayden Hunt was a baller as well. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about Paddy over the years is just how honest and introspective he has been, both from a team standpoint and individually. He's been really forward with me and really honest about some pretty tough subjects, including, imposter syndrome and, the challenges of trying to follow up a legend. And I understand that even today, there are fans that don't understand stylistically what this team is trying to accomplish on special teams. They're not trying to boom it 70 yards down the field most of the time. Are there instances where maybe, you get a real booming 60+ yard punt? Without a doubt. The goal is basically to go 40 to 45 yards and have no returns, which is what they do really, really well. He's averaging 43 yards a punt right now, 41.6 net, though, which is what's really important. And 13 of his 22 punts have been downed inside the 20, 60%, so more than half of his punts, being placed in the 20 right now. He is a weapon for this team, the ability to flip the field, to control field position, to not have the threat of giving up those big returns. And he's really become accurate. And I've got a lot of love for Paddy. He's one of my favorite guys to come through the program. He's raising money for suicide prevention with every punt placed inside the 20. I encourage you guys to hop on that trend with him. Here is an interview with Paddy, just kind of talking about the state of the team, why guys are still optimistic about the chances of turning it around. I asked him, pretty blankly, is this locker room still together? He says yes. He gets into some special teams, all kinds of stuff. So here's that interview with Paddy Turner. So I asked Avery this as well, but, you guys, for a lot of that night, I feel like you guys looked like the more talented team. Obviously, some penalties, some stuff, kind of held you back. I think a game like that can go one of two ways, though. Like, it can be really inspiring, and you guys can build off of it, or it can be kind of deflating. How have you noticed the team's response from this, loss?
I'd say motivating.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a misconception that we're content with games like that, like that we're like so close, well done guys. Like, that's just not the case at all. Like, everyone was very upset in the locker room. Everyone was motivated to, like, we wanted to play the day after. We got back to Fort Collins at like 2:30 in the morning. We were ready to strap up against them. Like, there was no one was content in the locker room. No one was like positive about the outcome. Everyone was just ready to go. We wanted to play straight away. So I definitely think it inspires a motivation and a different type of hunger to sort of redeem ourselves and finish those type of games. We had a few of them last year that we knew we should have won, and having another one this year was kind of that extra, like, just it can't be happening anymore. Like, we just got to put our foot on the gas and don't let off.
I know every game is different, but what do you feel like has held you guys back in these games that have kind of been coin flips?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you specifically, because obviously I'm not really out in the field as much as everyone else is. As a specialist group, we know that we're going to get called upon when we need to, and we're going to execute when we need to. I don't want to speak on the behalf of the offense or defense, because I know how hard those guys work, and I know how much those guys want it. So whether it is just maybe an attention to detail, or trying to focus for 60 minutes, it's hard. Like, we've got guys who are 18, 19 years old, not a lot of experience in those situations. So yeah, maybe as a leadership group, we need to step up and prepare them better for those situations, and to develop that experience before something bad happens that they won't from that.
It sounds like you believe, since you're saying that you guys are motivated, that it feels like the locker room's still together, like everybody's still on the same page here.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good connection, gelling real well. We're all catching up outside of the locker room more than I've ever seen. It's a really, really good group and a really, really coherent group. We're excited to win out the rest of the conference and get us a conference championship, get us a good bowl game, and celebrate like we deserve. Because the brotherhood we have here is really, really remarkable. I'm just stoked to be a part of it.
I know it probably feels hollow because you want to win games. Like that's what matters. But I mean, you're having a great season, the best of your career. What has that meant to you?
It's bittersweet. I'd like to just be holding PATs, to be honest. But I think I've said this from day one. I just want to contribute any way I can, and if that's pinning them deep or trying to get some ball on the ground to get us a ball back, then that's what I'll do. I'd say the biggest difference this year is my first year, I was aiming to average 42. So if I hit a 40-yard punt, then my next punt would have to be a 44. Whereas this year, I don't really care about my average. If I'm at the 50, as long as I can pin them back as far as I can, that's what I'm focused on. I don't really care what my stats say. As long as I'm helping out the team, doing my role, being a leader, then I'm doing what I came here to do. I don't think a box score really reflects my game plan for sure.
Is there a situation that you look for? Like, is there a more fun punting situation than others? Like, I'm going to try and drop this in the corner, or I'm going to try and boom it because we're trying to really flip the field. Like, is there an area that it's like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this one?
I mean, can't give away my secrets, but depends on what team we're playing. If they're holding up a lot, and I can see some people that I can try and hit in the back, that's when I get excited, because I did it at UTEP, and everyone sort of looks at me and going like, geez, you kind of suck at punting, man. And I was like, it doesn't look good on TV or from the sidelines, but if you're within the four walls of our stadium and you know what I'm doing, and you know that I'm trying to hit them, then yeah, it feels a lot better from that standpoint. So yeah, I like trying to be a bit of a sniper and get us a ball back and go down and score.
I think you've always been pretty honest that you understand that the fans don't necessarily understand what you guys are trying to accomplish, schematically or with each strategy. But was there a part, especially early on, where it was kind of just like following up Stonehouse? Obviously, it's a weird situation. Like, first of all, most fan bases don't care about the punter, and he's like a legend.
Yeah.
Was there some imposter syndrome feelings?
Oh, absolutely, and sometimes it still is. I'm not going to lie. Like, Stoney's got very big shoes, and I've got very little feet. So, credit to him. I'm not trying to be him. I'm just trying to play my own game, and yeah, I understand where a lot of fans come from.
When did you reach that point though? Because it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to truly embrace it. And because I mean, if you tried to do what he did, it wouldn't work. But honestly, you give up way less big returns than he does. I don't think people understand that either.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look pretty, but it works, I guess. So it was sort of my second season, to be honest, where I stopped really caring about the people outside the four walls. Stopped trying to prove people wrong and started to prove people right. And proving people right means the people that have cared about me, supported me, and put me in the position that I am today. So proving them right was my goal instead of trying to prove everyone wrong. Because I'm not going to make everyone happy. I mean, you're in the journalism world. I bet you feel the exact same way. So, I'll leave the couch coaches to themselves, and I try and impress our coaches here.
Appreciate him. He's highly charming. He's really funny. I mean, Stoney's got massive shoes and I've got little feet. That's a great quote. I always appreciate how honest he is with all of us. So we're going to keep this rolling. I do want to shout out our friends over at Coors Light. Guys, life can be incredibly chaotic. It can be hectic and stressful. I've certainly been going through it personally. During those times, you want to make sure you're choosing a chill mindset. Life is about how you respond to adversity, how you respond to the things that are thrown your way. And I'll be honest, I'm struggling with it at times right now, but I'm always striving to choose a chill mindset and doing little things like going out and getting some sunshine, getting a little bit of exercise, doing my breathing exercises. Once I'm kicking back, once I'm chilling, then I'm going to crack open an ice cold Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment. When the mountains turn blue, cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold packaged, and cold filtered, for a smoother finish. Crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I also want to talk to you guys about Game Time. Game Time has made it easier than ever to get tickets for last-minute shows, whether it's sports, comedy, theater. You name it, they've got it. And with Game Time picks, it's actually easier than ever to get tickets for your favorite events. What Game Time picks does is it filters out all the fluff to show you the best of the best. They have got an insane variety over at Game Time. And honestly, it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're just trying to get tickets quick and you see like thousands and thousands of listings. Do I got to sort through this? Which one of these really is the best deal? With Game Time picks, takes all of that stress out of buying tickets. It's just going to show you the best of the best. It's a really nice curation feature. And it helps you save money on sports, comedy, theater, you name it. So many things I love about Game Time, from all-in pricing to a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. They've got the lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. I appreciate all you guys in the Toyota chat rocking with me, even as I stumble through some of my words here. We're gonna lock it in. We're gonna get it together here for these keys against San Jose State. I do want to hit on a couple of these comments. I'm trying to acknowledge as many as I can. I really appreciate you guys rocking with us. I want to start with this one from Mile High Minute here. He says, we definitely need to see some changes with the offensive play calling. I don't think you need drastic changes, as funny as that may sound. I think running the ball and leaning into that identity is important for this team. And frankly, Avery Morrow has been your most consistent producer throughout the season now. So that's not something you just want to go away from. You've also got Justin Marshall, Keegan Hollis, if they can get him back healthy down the stretch. You've got a lot of talent in that backfield, and that's not an element of the offense that you want to ignore. What I want to see is I want to see them hitting on those explosives with more consistency. Those plays you missed, early in the first half would have completely changed the context of that matchup. If you hit that vertical shot to Torrey, if you hit on that flea flicker to Jordan Ross, who was open, he that play would have worked if he waits 2 more seconds and lets it develop a little bit before taking off, maybe even like a second. That's probably a house call, and you're up multiple scores in the first half. That game potentially goes a lot differently. Running the ball is good. What they need to be able to do is they need to be able to pass the ball in the situations where it's pertinent, and they also need to create off of the success that they're having in the ground game. You need those play action opportunities. I think back to the Greeley game where you run the ball really effectively down the field, and then guess what? Braden runs a bootleg, goes into the end zone untouched. I would have liked to have seen them pull something like that out in double overtime against Oregon State. Especially at that point of the game, you had some injuries on the left side of your offensive line. They were really daring you to do anything other than run the ball. And I understand, because they had run the ball with a lot of consistency, why CSU really leaned into that. But that's what I want to see. Is I don't want to see them go away from the ground game. I want to see them create more off of it. I want to see them take advantage of the speed that they have out wide. Create those vertical threats, create those play action opportunities, create those bootleg chances for Braden, who's a good athlete and moves well. You need him to display more consistent accuracy and better decision making while on the move. I think at times he can be a little bit frantic, but he's made good decisions with the football now for the last couple of weeks. That throw to Goody on the move was really impressive. I mean, Goody's burst was also impressive. I didn't think he had any chance of scoring, and it didn't end up being that close. But those are the types of plays we need to see more of, and I want to see them have some success with that earlier on in the matchup. I feel like a lot of the times it's later in the game. It's fourth quarter, after a couple of quarters of inconsistency with the passing offense. You've got a solid base to build around, and you've got some offensive linemen that really thrive in the run block element of the offense. Drew Moss, and now we're seeing Tanner Morley in there at left guard, really mauling dudes in the ground game. A little left to be desired in pass protection at times. Need to, I think, give Braden a little bit more time, especially if you do want to create these vertical shots, give these receivers a chance to get open. But that's a big key for me. And another key, and this is something I have in my notes going off of what my guy Taylor says, I want to see a confident BFN getting plays in on time, not looking flustered with 5 seconds left on the play clock. My guess is that some of those are on the staff, some of those are on Braden. Regardless, you just need a cleaner effort altogether. You need to execute with more consistency. I have here in my keys, just clean it up. Just clean it up. And that's kind of oversimplifying some things, but you want to see the offense executing with some consistency. You want to see them in rhythm, not rush, not having 10 plus potential delay of game scenarios, not having the back-breaking penalties offensively that kill a drive or defensively that extend a drive, both of which have been too consistently issues for CSU throughout the season. Definitely came back to hurt you in a major way in a winnable game against Oregon State. So, that's a really big factor. As is defensively, you're going to get tested because Emmett Brown and Nick Nash, that is as dynamic of a duo as we see in the Mountain West at the moment. Emmett Brown leads the conference with 15 passing touchdowns. Not like a great completion percentage, not super consistently accurate, but he's willing to throw the ball up and give his guys a chance. And they have got some playmakers outside. They've got Nick Nash, one of the most experienced players in college football, former converted quarterback, was more of a mobile dual threat type QB when he was back there. But a converted receiver who's really made the most of this opportunity. If you look at the stats, it's honestly silly. Nick Nash, through 5 games, 9 receiving touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns. Again, the converted quarterback, you got to be really careful if he gets the ball behind the line of scrimmage because he might be looking to throw it downfield. 55 catches for 712 yards. Emmett Brown, I believe, has 110 completions. So 50% of them have gone to Nick Nash, half of his passing yards, most of his passing touchdowns. He's not the only guy you got to keep an eye on. Justin Lockhart, a former Nevada receiver under Norvell. They know him well. He is also a threat. Floyd Chalk in the backfield transfer. He is really solid as well. But really what it comes down to is limiting the damage that Nick Nash is able to do. If you can keep him contained, if you're not giving up explosive games or explosive gains in the run game, if you're not, killing yourself with penalties, you should be in a good spot. But he's a guy that can kill you. And even when he's getting the ball, they'll still throw it up to him and let him, try and make a play there. Really going to put a lot of pressure on a secondary that has been inconsistent this season, has given up a lot of passing yards. I mean, again, it's not consistent. They're not really going to, at least from what I've seen, like pick you apart, 6 yards here, 7 yards here, all the way up and down the field. It's more like incompletion. Oh, we just hit 35 on this vertical shot, but you've got to be in position to make plays. You got to get after the quarterback. You got to keep him contained. Emmett Brown is a guy who's athletic. If you're not contained and you're letting him scramble on you, that can kill you. Obviously, we saw McCoy have some success there. Some of that was design with the option, and CSU struggled with that. Other times it was just him improvising and creating opportunities with his feet. Brown is an athletic guy. He's mostly looking to throw when he scrambles around, but he can extend the play. If you allow him to get outside of the pocket, it could be a rough spot for you. You got to get off the field, man. I actually really like what CSU did on first and second down much of the night against Oregon State. As the game went on, they started to get gashed a little bit. You started to see exhaustion kind of play a factor. But Oregon State was 50% on third down and 100% on fourth down. That's not good enough. That's not good enough, and it really kills you. And it's backbreaking when you have that success early on and you can't capitalize on it. If you can get off the field, if you cannot beat yourself, you're going to give yourself an opportunity here. I mean, San Jose State's been nothing special defensively. They really test you. Offensively, they're highly explosive. I've got a lot of respect for what Ken Niumatalolo is building out there. Got to credit him. He's done a good job. He really benefited from the fact that they didn't get decimated by the portal, which very easily could have happened with Brent Brennan going to Arizona. A little surprised that a guy like Nick Nash isn't, balling out for him. They probably could use him offensively. But credit to him for coming in, for taking a team that had a couple of winning seasons and, kind of creating some positive momentum here early. Their schedule gets a lot tougher, and this is a big swing game for them as well. To me, this is a big prove-it opportunity for both of these programs. San Jose State had a hotter start than anybody anticipated. If you're CSU, you're trying to build off of the flashes you've shown, but you need to do it much more consistently. Big shout out to Mile High Minute with the super chat. Much love, my friend. He says, thanks for the continued coverage of CSU. I appreciate all you guys, locked in with us and and rocking with these shows. It's a lot of fun. I feel very blessed that I get to do this for a living, and I get to talk about this team, talk about college football, talk about college basketball. I know so many other people, it's a stepping stone to them. That's just not how I view it. And I'm very thankful for all you guys, because you make my dreams come true. A couple of more keys here, then we'll get into some power rankings and picks. You got to let Torrey be Torrey. I think Torrey Horton going off would be big for CSU's chances in this. It puts so much stress on the defense. The guy is always open. He's got insane hands. He's an incredible route runner. They need Torrey Horton to be the dynamic number one wide receiver in the Mountain West that he is capable of being. He has been slowed down by injuries to begin the year, but you just saw how differently the passing offense looks, how much more consistently you're able to stretch the field with him out there. I want to see all these guys in the mix. You need Armani Winfield to do what he's capable of. You need Caleb Goody to, produce more consistently. He's kind of having a big game, then a quiet game, big game, then a quiet game. You need somebody, whoever it may be, to step up and be that number 2, number 3 guy consistently. It could be a true freshman for all I care, whoever it may be. You need somebody to step up. Donovan Ollie's been slowed down by injuries. I'm not sure if we're going to see Dylan Goffney again this season or not. He might potentially redshirt. I don't expect him this weekend. Didn't see him out at practice. We'll see, I guess, what happens there. He's been inconsistent. But you need Torrey to be Torrey, to win a game, to put the type of points on the board that you're probably going to need to pull this out. We'll talk about it tomorrow, and I'll get into some more names. I think you probably need to score a season high in this one. I think 35 plus needs to be the goal. And defensively, you're hoping you can keep them under 30, give yourself an opportunity here. But we really need the offense to be explosive. If you can establish a lead, I then want to see this team finish the job, show some killer mentality. If it's 4th and 2 past midfield, you got an opportunity to step on their throat. Do it. You get some turnovers, take advantage with points. I want to see this team finish in a way that we just have not consistently enough. We're going to move on here. We're going to take some time to get into the Mountain West Power Rankings, wrap up with some picks. Again, time depending. We'll see as I respond to some of your guys' questions and comments when we get through these Power Rankings. I do want to talk to you guys about a financial institution that is not like other banks out there. Of course, if you listen to the show consistently, I'm talking about Premier Members Credit Union. Did you know that Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now? I did. If you're one of them, you got to check out Premier Members Credit Union. They're a financial institution based right here in Colorado with PMCU. You get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like a reverse tier money market. This is an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. Whatever your goals, they can help. PMCU is all about creating a better banking experience for the Colorado community. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com to learn more. I also want to talk to you guys about an awesome initiative from our friends over at UC Health. They have the Ready, Set, Co Challenge. UC Health wants you and other Coloradans living your healthiest lives. When you join the Ready, Set, CO Challenge, there's a lot of pillars they're emphasizing, but this year the big one, it's sleep. You need 8 hours of sleep every single night. It's such a key part of our overall health. You need to prioritize it. I know that when I don't get it, I feel run down. I'm not able to be as productive. I'm not as creative. And when you've got things going on in the work life and the social life, whatever it may be, sometimes it makes it harder to really prioritize that. Don't sleep on sleep. If you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge, click the link in the show notes or go to www.uchealth.org/ready-set-co. Yeah. I appreciate everybody in the Toyota. Not everybody. I appreciate most of you guys in the Toyota chat. We got a question here from High Minute. What's up with all the recent Pac-12 talk with Memphis and Tulane on X yesterday? Seemed like just speculation, but all of these fan accounts were posting it. Yeah, I didn't see anything sourced or valid that it makes me think anything's going to come this week. I imagine we're going to get an answer to this one way or the other, somewhat out of the blue. I know there's a lot of media rights discussions happening behind the scenes. I fully expect at least Memphis, if not Memphis and Tulane, to be in the Pac-12 by 2026. You've got the nice base to build around here. You're in a good spot. Adding Gonzaga was a massive PR win that they needed. But I don't have anything like sourced or anything like that in terms of, look out for this. You have seen some people speculating that you could get an answer on that. It would make sense, especially if the Pac-12 got some clarity from some of these media rights outlets of like, this is what your deal could be. I will say some of these CSU, Oregon State, Washington State, Pac-12 Mountain West matchups, they're drawing some encouraging TV numbers. Obviously, going to overtime helped, but CSU, Oregon State actually drew more viewers than Oregon State, Purdue did. There's going to be interest in this West Coast product. I think it's highly competitive. As Taylor says, CSU, OSU had more viewers than a Big 10, Big 12 game this past week. Good sign during these media rights. Yeah, I mean, you need some big numbers. Boise winning some big games. Ashton Gianti being in the Heisman race. All of these things are beneficial for the future of the Pac-12. I mean, honestly, we want CSU to do well. Obviously, we're Rams, but like we kind of want all of these teams to do well. Like having Boise State make the college football playoff would be very ideal. Having some of these guys go off that are going to be in the, having Oregon State and Washington State make the postseason after being left for dead, that's encouraging for the future of the Pac-12. Obviously, you want to see more from CSU, from San Diego State, from Utah State. Utah State and San Diego State historically been pretty solid the last 15, 20 years, but I just mean it's a situation where, rising tides could raise all ships here. Let's get into our Mountain West Power Rankings. If you guys got more questions and comments, throw them our way. I'll get to as many as I can. I appreciate you guys rocking with us. I'll be going live tomorrow morning as well at 10 a.m., so make sure you're locked in there. Also be going live Saturday post-game, win, lose, or draw. I don't think you can draw, but we'll get into whatever happens there. We're going to start focusing more on basketball as well in the coming weeks. Going to try and get Nico Medved on. Seems like he's been on every other show of late, so we'll work on that. Get some of these new players on, get you some information about some of these newcomers as well. Let's get into the power rankings, though. Some changes, not a ton of movement. I think they're still pretty clear. Tiers here within the league. Starting at the bottom, number 12, then we'll work our way to the top. We got Air Force, which feels wild. This is the worst I think that they've looked probably since the beginning of the Calhoun era. I mean, this is statistically even worse than what we saw from that 2-win team in 2013. My guess is Air Force probably wins more games than that 2013 squad by the time it's all said and done. We'll see, though. Got Utah State coming in, number 11. They've lost 3 or 4 straight, really struggling offensively. Defensively, they've got a couple of nice pieces. They did score 30 on Boise State. Boise State's defensive numbers not terrific at the moment, but I also wonder if it is a situation where some of that gets skewed by the fact that the Boise offense is so explosive. They're creating so many of these 50, 60, 70-yard runs that the defense is just on the field a lot, and that can really wear on you. Number 10, we're going Wyoming. They had the head-to-head over Air Force, so you come in there, obviously coming off of a bye. We'll see. They've got a big one coming up against San Diego State this weekend. Really a moment where they could keep their season alive with the win. Probably puts a fork in them if they're done at 1-5. Number 9, we're going New Mexico. They are 0-1 in the league play, but I have so much respect and so much fear, honestly, of what Devin Dampier can do to you defensively that I think they deserve to be above these other teams in the bottom. I think 9 through 12 is kind of its own tier at the moment. Then you have probably 8 through 5. 8 is Hawaii. Tough loss against San Diego State this past week on the road. They're competitive, much like CSU. Frustrating to see them still struggling with the same types of inconsistencies that have plagued them under Timmy Chang, who I think is a good coach, who I'm really rooting for him. He's a good dude. But they've got to find a way to get that signature win as well. San Diego State, we've got coming in at number 7. I think they are in a position where they could rise here these next couple of weeks. They've got some explosiveness offensively. They run the ball well. Lewis Brown really functioning well as their wide receiver one, former Ram. Good for him. Need to see a little bit more consistently on the defensive side. They are limited passing as good as Lewis Brown is. You got a young quarterback. That's going to be a bit of a roller coaster when you got a true freshman out there. Keeping it moving here. We got Nevada. I think that they're probably the surprise team this year. They've been much more frisky than I expected. Lack of depth kind of hurts them at times, and you see them drop some of these games where they've been highly competitive, but maybe just didn't have quite enough to get over. But Jeff Choate was a really good hire, and he's given some fuel to the fire to those that say, what CSU has accomplished to this point in year 3 is not enough. When you see teams like Nevada having the success that they are, I think a lot of times people throw out, they love to bring out UNLV, which was not a comparable situation from a roster standpoint. They were really close to breaking out under Marcus Arroyo. They love to bring out, San Jose State. That's a winning program and a roster that didn't get decimated by the portal. Those are all things we have to consider. At this point, it's stupid to look at year 1 programs and use that as the comp. What is valid is saying that what you were doing in year 3 is not enough. We got CSU coming in at 5, but you got a big game coming up against Nevada here in a couple of weeks. You've not played a league game, but I think you can make an argument that CSU should be ahead of San Diego State, who's 1-0 in league play, just based on the similar competition. San Diego State got stomped by Oregon State. That's why I've got them a little bit lower. We got Fresno State at 4, quickly falling, though. I had a lot of faith in that team. I'm rooting for them. Tim Skipper's my guy, but they are kind of falling here. I'm going to take just a breath here real quick with about 15 minutes left in the show. And then we're going to wrap up these power rankings. I'm going to give some picks here pretty quickly. All right. We have San Jose State at number 3. They're 4-1, 2-0. Big opportunity for CSU to earn a win over one of the teams here in the top tier. 2-0 in league play. Really explosive offensively. Quite impressed with what the Spartans have been able to do here in the early stages of the year. I put UNLV at 2 just because they're coming off of a frustrating loss. I still think they're the most complete team in the conference, and knife to my back, they're still my pick for the Mountain West champion at the moment. I like that they got that game against Boise at home. I think they're a little bit more versatile offensively, and out of anybody in the league, they're probably the most poised to be able to at least slow Gianti down. Nobody's going to stop Gianti. Like he's going for 100 plus multiple touchdowns against just about anybody. But if anybody's able to, I guess, just mitigate the damage a little bit, I think it's that Barry Odom-led defense. I mean, if Boise goes in there and they throttle UNLV, now they're really cooking with gas, have a really good chance to make the playoff. That's probably better for CSU just because obviously UNLV sticking around in the Mountain West. Boise State going on to the Pac-12 with us. But I am rooting for UNLV to succeed this year. I think it's a fun story. I do wonder if they're able to hang on to Barry Odom or not, just because I think he's going to be a hot commodity come this upcoming coaching cycle. But we'll see. That's where we're at. I got Boise State at 1 just because they are running the ball. They're telling you they're going to run the ball, and they're still running it down your throat. Gianti averaging over 10 yards a carry, 1,000 yards already on the season before we've really even gotten to the halfway point is insane. He's often not even getting touches in the real late stage, which that's just crazy that he has this type of production. His yards after contact would be second in the Mountain West in rushing, which is it's just absurd. But that's where we're at with the power rankings. Boise State at the top, Air Force at the bottom, CSU right in the middle at 5. I could see them falling to like as low as 8 or 9 or rising into that 2 or 3 conversation, depending on how things play out here. Probably 3 or 4, I guess, being more realistically. I do think Boise and UNLV are very clearly those top 2 teams. But I think especially because of the way that the schedule plays out, you have a favorable slate here, an opportunity to control your own destiny. It's not impossible that this team, wins 7 or 8 games still. And I mean, technically you could win 9, but I want to see this team prove it. And you have such a big opportunity starting this weekend against San Jose State. They're explosive. They've got talent. This also is a winnable game. Every game remaining on your schedule is winnable. Can you go out and can you capitalize? Can you execute with enough consistency? Can you clean it up and stop shooting yourself in the foot the way that we see this team do repeatedly? If so, we're going to be looking up December and we're going to be planning a bowl trip. If not, we're probably talking about something a lot different, like, potential hires and all that type of stuff. I've made it clear where I stand. I think this team had far too much talent to win less than 7 games. I think you can sell yourself on 6-6 if you get a couple of rivalry wins and then you follow that up with a bowl win. But it sure would be nice to see this team win a couple of games that are essentially coin flips, control their own destiny a little bit, win 7+ games, and have everybody feeling just a lot better about the current state and the direction of this program. They got talent. They very clearly have talent. Not a stellar slate for week 7 with the Mountain West games. You got some pretty big spreads, but a couple of good ones. UNLV goes to Utah State. I believe that's a Friday night game. UNLV playing a lot of Friday night games this year. UNLV 19-point favorites on the road against Utah State. That is a lot to cover on the road. I'm going to say Utah State hangs enough to keep the game tight. I think the Aggies cover. I think UNLV wins that game and probably wins it by double digits. But 19 on the road in Logan, that's a tough spread to cover. If UNLV can respond with a throttling after that heartbreaking loss to Syracuse, I think that really says a lot about what that team can be and would validate me calling them the most complete team in the conference. But a unique spot, and I just think 3 tutties is a lot to cover in Logan for anybody. Weird stuff happens there too. San Diego State 2-point favorites in Laramie. That's shocking to me, or at least it would have been going into the year. Probably makes sense. Given the way the season has played out, Wyoming has not looked good. I'm going to say they win this one at home. Not only do they cover, they win outright. They keep their season alive. I think they've got too much experience in the offensive line and on the defensive side of the ball to just have it totally fall apart. But I mean, if they lose this one, now all of a sudden they're in a really bad spot. San Jose State currently listed as a 1-point favorite over CSU. The last I checked, I've seen that vary from like 2 to 3 points. I'm going to say CSU wins it. The vibes have been good in practice this week. I've been around teams that quit. You can feel it from a body language standpoint. That's not the vibe I got out at practice this week or from the conversations that I've had with coaches and players. I think it's going to be really tight. I think you're going to probably need like something on special teams, a pick 6 or something like that to really swing it your way. But I'm going to say CSU wins a tight one, and I think it might be kind of an offensive shootout here. New Mexico 6.5-point favorites. 1-4 New Mexico 6.5-point favorites against Air Force, which that's wild. I mean, that really shows you where Air Force is at right now as a program. Shockingly bad. I like New Mexico to cover it. I think they are a touchdown better because they are so much more potent offensively. Air Force has had some defensive injuries that are starting to add up. I've not seen them move the ball. They had the trick play that resulted in a touchdown against Navy. You had one explosive play, and other than that, they just look lethargic the last couple of weeks. And I don't see how they have enough offensive firepower to keep up with the New Mexico offense that is pretty potent. Now, they turn the ball over too much. Defensively, they're bad too, so it wouldn't shock me if you saw Air Force have some success on the ground, run for like 200 plus this week. I don't see how you're getting any stops against that offense. That's where I'm at. Washington State 3.5-point favorites at Fresno State. Oh, give me Fresno State uncomfortably to cover that at home. I like the chances to pull the win outright, but I'll say they at least cover at home. Oregon State 3.5-point favorites on the road out at Nevada. this is a really interesting one for me, because if Nevada is able to hang in this one, then that really makes that game going into Reno a lot more nerve-wracking, because I think that'd be really validating for them. Oregon State going in and thumping Nevada would be encouraging from CSU's standpoint, because it makes you feel less bad about, going into Reno. But also it would be indicative that Oregon State is a good team. Like I think they should win 8+ games at this point, and you want that if you're CSU. You don't want them to be like 5-7, 6-6, because then whatever moral victories you do have from a frustrating night, that all just goes out the window. Boise State 20.5-point favorites at Hawaii. Tough to cover on the island, but I don't see Hawaii stopping this ground game, and I think Boise puts it on them pretty good. I'd love to be wrong. I would, just because I'm rooting for Timmy Chang and Hawaii, and they pulled like 7 true upsets the last couple of years. You never know. Weird stuff happens there. I have yet to see anybody slow down Ashton Gienti, let alone stop him, though. And until I do, it's going to be tough to pick against them. Maybe UNLV in a couple weeks. We shall see. That's all I've got for today. Again, we'll be going live tomorrow morning as well. Today, I'm continuing to preview this matchup against San Jose State. Really big moment for this team. This can really swing your season one way or another. If you can pull to 500 here overall and 1-0 in league play, all of a sudden you're in a really good spot going into a winnable stretch. You've got some games coming up here where you're going to have a significant talent advantage. Can you win some of the games where it's more of a coin flip, though? They've not been able to do it with a lot of consistency the last couple of years. If you could win this one convincingly, it would really make people feel good, especially after the positives you had last week, despite the negatives. But just find a way to win. I don't really care how. Just find a way to win, keep your season alive, and then all of a sudden you have an opportunity to go out on the road, beat a rival that has historically owned you, that you've had very little success in their building. A win in the Air Force would mean a lot. Whether they suck or not, it would just mean a lot given the history. And you have a chance to create some positive momentum and really be feeling good about yourself. If you could have stolen that one against Oregon State, then you're feeling even better, and you start like talking yourself into, could this team win 9 games? Could they win 10 games? Like you would have seen all kinds of crazy stuff coming out, and that's what's fun about college football. One week it feels so much different than the next. These teams look so much different from week to week. Sure would be nice and comforting to see a little bit of consistency from this squad, which does have talent, which does have experience. Can they go out and can they control their own destiny? Because you have an opportunity here with a conference slate that is about as favorable as it can get. It's like, even sitting here at 2-3, if you can't make a bowl with this conference schedule, I mean, yikes. These teams are not good. They're not. And there's an argument that CSU might not be that good, but they've got more talent than a lot of the teams they're going to face. Essentially all of the teams they're going to face down the stretch here. I want to see that be a difference. I want to see this team find a way to stop shooting themselves in the foot. I want to see them find a way to get some of these stars involved, to, get your quarterback rolling with some confidence, to lean on that ground game, but then create off of it, to get a stop defensively when you have a lead late. Just once, I'd like to see this team, when they're up one possession and the other team has to go, 40+ yards, get off the field just once. That's what I'm asking for. Big opportunity to swing your season against San Jose State. You've got a clean slate going into league play, as frustrating at times as the year has been to begin the year. You have an opportunity to wipe all of that clean here if you can rattle off a couple of wins and put yourself in position to contend for a conference championship, if nothing else, to make a bowl game, which is something that we have not seen in far too long. That's all I've got for today. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. I really appreciate you guys. I can't say that enough. As Taylor says, just win, baby. Just win. That's all I've got. Always proud to be. Much love, y'all. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.